I'm Scotland's true braveheart, raised on girders and raw onions, and the occasional sherbet dab. Or as I prefer to call it, Donald talks, as most of the people there are backwards. I like to keep myself to myself, you see. So I've tried to not associate with any cunt, because every cunt is a cunt, and so that's why I try not to associate with any cunt. As Scotland's full of cunts. I'll come to that in a flash. So, what do I see before me? To me, it looks like a fucking atrocity. It looks like a bunch of fucking savages who are dominating a bunch of people who are higher functioning than them, more evolved than them, and abusing them for sexual pleasure. Where's the humanity in that? Where's that leading? I don't want to be drawn down into your pits, your shit pits, your fucking prison systems, your fucking horrible concentration camps and your fucking shit cones. I'm going to the very top. But what do I find when I get there? I find a fucking Jew. What's a Jew doing at the very top, I hear you say? Well, it turns out that Jews are at the very top. And all the Scotch are at the very fucking bottom, except for the paedophiles and the sex offenders who are complicit with them. Stands to reason, doesn't it? By ignoring all the shit pits, dungeon systems and shit cones, I managed to make it to the top. And at the top, I fucking met a fucking Jew.
Got a picture and everything in all sorts.
See what I mean?
What do you want?
I want to know the fucking meaning of all this shit down here. You've got a fucking shit pit, a fucking dungeon system, and all these fucking shit cones.
It is the correct way to treat the goyim.
Well, see that's projective identification. Because from my fucking experience, all you fucking ringleaders of the fucking Zionist Jews are not even as evolved as a fucking animal, but you're in human form, you cheeky wee bastards.
What is this?
So you refer to fucking all these white pricks as being goyim. You're basically deluding yourself. Because it's you who's the fucking goyim. So explain this one to me. All these daft cunts are fucking slaving away in a shit pit, yeah? And being dragged into this fucking dungeon system, and all these fucking spastics and these fucking shit cones are preying on them.
There is no other way. They are savages.
You're the fucking savages. Yeah, you're in charge. You could make anything fucking happen. You could emancipate these people and be fucking heroic.
Fuck that.
Why? Why? Is it just because you think your tribe is the best tribe on earth, and therefore everybody else must die, and they must work and slave and prey on each other on your behalf until they're dead and gone, and then you take over?
Have you been reading my book?
The Talmud? I wouldn't wipe my fucking arse on it. It's a pile of fucking shit. You wouldn't wipe your arse with shit.
You don't understand. See, the people in the slave camps, if they wouldn't, if we set them free, they would kill us.
That's probably true, actually. You know, there's a lot of fucking really deranged white people. However, you know, you could easily brain scan them with fMRI brain scan machines and then set the cunts free. And the ones who are the most functioning and who, you know, have the highest emotional intelligence tests and the most self-awareness, the most moral, They would lead.
Then how could we fuck the children?
So basically, absolutely everything I've just explained to you, right? The fucking shit pit where people are slaving like fuck, right? All locked into their wee fucking prison cells, yeah? And the fucking prison system, the fucking, slave labour camps, sex slaves, really. And all these fucking shitcoins are just a front to hide the fact that you are a tribe of paedophiles.
And Satan worshippers.
Well, that makes it all better. Thank goodness for that. You threw in a fucking Morlock, whatever the fuck you call it.
Moloch.
Bollocks.
What is that?
Well, I think the solution here is to kick your fucking cunt in.
Are they?
So anyway, genuinely, oh, incidentally, hello fan, genuinely, every Western country is run by a fucking pygmy midget, yeah, who is a fucking mental quadriplegic Zionist Jew who is demoralised and seduced into vice. A whole country it intends to fucking destroy and thinks it's so big a lie you'll not be able to work it out. And if you can work it out, well then, you'll go and get the Jew. Yeah? So, what do you do about it? If you've ever met a lunatic, and I mean a proper fucking lunatic, I'll give you the breakdown, right? You have the most intelligent mind of all time, right? Hello. Right? A Christ-like mind, yeah? This is what you tend to do to them. Well, in actual fact, this is what Zionist Jews tend to do to them. The Pharisees, they're direct descendants and indirect descendants who have mixed themselves up with Kurds and way. Assassinated this great Christ-like man, right? I have a very similar mind to his, and in a nutcake, that's the top of the tree so far in this species evolution. So basically, I've attracted tons and tons of spastics who think if they introduce themselves as Pollyanna Flippy Biscuits, and I actually refer to them as Pollyanna during the conversation, that's them pretend proving that they're a mastermind, and even though they're a mental quadriplegic, harebrained, cigarette paper deep imbecile, right? And in a nutcake, shite like that believe from the moment they start talking shite to you, they're pretend proving, they're the genius, and they're trading places. It's now you and you are now it. In other words, needing shot in the tits. So here's the thing, right? The Zionist Jew, right, is a lunatic, right? So if you look at the level of intelligence, right, Christ, yeah, profound genius, highly intelligent, yeah? And then you've got intelligent, then you've got normal, right? Then you've got subnormal. However, right, subnormal is the new normal. Right? And then what you have is stupid, then you've got congenitally stupid, then you've got imbecile, right? And then below imbecile you have lunatic, and below lunatic you have maniac. And anything lower than that, you would obviously see it, you would say to yourself, fuck me, the person's obviously got something wrong with their brain, that's why their body's so affected, right? The maniac is not a kick in the arse off that. And they're the ones who are killing everybody on earth, right? And they're inbred, and they're from a long line of fucking walking shite. You imagine Link sausages all made of shit, going all the way back, and dropping out of some fucking mad whore's arse somewhere, right? That's the general idea. This feels as though it's constricting my throat. Where's my wallet gone? It feels like an ex-girlfriend. The thing is this, right? The thing is this, right? Zionist Jews, right, are walking shite and need to be exterminated, right? Right? So that's the ringleaders of the Jews. It's really straightforward. Now, the organised resistance are a bunch of lying spastics who need shot through their fucking face for wasting your time whilst you're being fucking murdered. So slowly, the average person's too stupid to realise it and programmed with Zionist buzzwords to think that I'm a conspiracy theorist, that I am anti-Semitical, that I am fill in the blank, right? So, they want to fill you in. They've irradiated you, poisoned you. These imbecilic lunatics who are maniacs. So when you think about it, subnormal's the new normal, right? So what, as we go further down, each one of these things is included in the description of the intelligence of the asshole, right? So in other words, the person at the very, very fucking bottom who's a maniac, right, is also a fucking lunatic and an imbecile, right? Yeah, who's basically congenitally stupid and subnormal. Right? So if you're just subnormal, you know, you're having a laugh. So, I'm on a planet where the majority of people are subnormal, right? Because of the genetic engineering program and also the cultural propaganda machine, which encourages people to be harebrained, and also tiny-minded, so that the Zionist Jew can feel they've gone big. And every single so-called psychopath I've ever had the misfortune of studying, which I used to my advantage, they are actually what I now call unitards because of this solitary pathology and this solitary thought pattern they have, because to themselves, out with their kind of groomed clique, and they always have some kind of ring, you know, like a paedophile ring, you know, or a tribe, some kind of united, you know, charabang of spastics, right? Outside of that, they decree every single other person as being an uninitiated or bad breast, and everybody within this magic circle as being the good guys. And of course, there's something you would expect to find if you opened, you know, the trap door to the galley of a fucking pirate ship in the 1400s, you know, and when I saw that, right, where's my wallet gone? And basically, when I first saw Dave Allen, right, impersonating stupid people, I actually thought he was well over exaggerating. And when I saw Monty Python impersonating stupid people, I thought they were, you know, over exaggerating. However, then I met really remarkably stupid people, right, who are maniac level lunatics. And, well, Dave Allen, like, for example, he would say, he would be, he'd sit there, right, and he'd go, and he always did this with his thigh, right? I was walking through Dublin the other day, you know, I was just minding my own business, you know, and, don't know why he always did that. And I was walking up to this young lady, and she was wearing a blue ranger strip. And I said to her, "Excuse me, dear, could you tell me where the nearest train station is?" And she delighted me by replying and telling me where the nearest train station was by saying to me, "Get yourself in funk, fucking train station." Right? And I thought, nah, he's over exaggerating, you know, that couldn't be possible. There we go. So after meeting that, you know, delicate petal, I would walk further down the street, and another Rangers fan was coming toward me, wearing that, you know, tasteful blue strip. And, or whatever they're called now, Sevco or something, or fucking Tesco. And I asked him, I said, you know, could you tell me where the train station is? And he politely replied, "Fucking train station! Fucking train station! Fuck's sake!" I found my way there in the end. And he also did an impression of a spider, which everybody used to find funny, and then I realised he was putting the same person into that impression, right? And it stayed with me, right? So, Monty Python, in their famous sketches, it was the idiot marathon or the idiot test. There was something to do with idiots, and they all had knotted hankies on top of their head, right? And so it was like a race where they were so stupid they were killing themselves and that kind of thing. And you know, all the different characters with these knotted hankies would go, my brain hurts, right? And I thought that was an over-exaggeration, right? Until I met those people, right? And I'm going to reveal those people to you, which you can use, if you want, to overthrow your entire police farce, execute them 9 out of every 10. Brain scan them first, and then execute your Freemasons who are complicit and usurped by Zionist Jews who have weapons of enormous destruction, which allows these 3-year-old sex offenders to get off every day, and ameliorating against being born a mental quadriplegic in modern times due to their fucking inbreeding, which is what you get for talking shite to yourself for centuries. However, right, if you don't execute 9 out of every 10 of your police farce, right, 9 out of every 10, they will defend the position to betray you and be a traitor and a sex offender, cerebral and somatic sex offender towards you, who are 100% complicit with a national and local and global paedophile ring, as long as they get to prey on you for the wages you're paying them. And these spastics with shite for their brains believe it's just too complex for you to get your head round it. You're so divided that these wee pricks, these wee fucking imbecilic, hollow-headed fucking reptiles can get away with preying on you, I repeat, for the wages you're paying them from the tokens of your own fascist oppression, your allowance from Zionist Jews who are murdering you. That this is the thanks you get for being programmed with Zionist buzzwords which stop you from knowing the truth. And all these buzzwords, if you think about them, every single one of them is what you should be if you took its correct definition, rather than the one they use to obfuscate what the truth of the matter is. For example, as I've said in the past, anti-Semitic means anti-Middle Eastern. Jews, Zionist Jews, are anti-Middle Eastern. Right? Right? So, they're saying, you are what I am, you are what I am. It's what all unitards say. They don't develop beyond 3. There are higher functioning garbage who are complicit with them who don't develop beyond 5, right? I repeat, they're mental quadriplegics. What do I mean by that? They have no frontal brain function, right? Or very, very limited, right? And at the core of their brain, it's absolutely fucking minuscule, which is why they don't develop beyond infancy. And in a fruit case, I've got a lizard. It's running about. And the thing is this, I very originally call her Lizzie. And so, here's the point, right? In Scotland, or as I call it, Donald Talks, right? I was targeted by a family of serial killers, right? The female I'd met before, and I've done videos exposing her in the past, right? And it's quite simple, although you might think it's complex. She works with her whole family to try and get into the life of a man who she may well want a relationship with. However, she's hedged her bets just in case. And it's really quite simple. She had half her brain removed, right? I didn't know. And was then classified as being a paranoid schizophrenic, brought on by what I presume as early child abuse. I think she was orphaned out and things like that, and abandoned by a woman who was just as much of a piece of shite as herself. So she's become worse than the thing she hates, and I think that's why her mother got rid of her, because she thought to herself, this is just more shite like herself, you know. So that's what she led me to believe. So what we know is she has half a brain, right? And she's got no frontal brain function. She might have also had an early injury into the bargain. So she has prefrontal temporal lobe dementia, so her brain's breaking down. and I can see her future and it ain't worth it. So, in a nutcake, behind her, she said she had a mezzanine, right, of what you call paraphiliacs. Now, Zionist Jews have programmed you to think that homosexuals are these wonderful things. 2 out of every 3 homosexuals is a paedophile. The least you should do is fucking castrate them, right? The males. Yeah? And an additional quarter, yeah, are paraphiliacs. So you've got paedophiles and paraphiliacs whom you're being promoted to fucking see a rainbow when you think about them. They want to attach this filthy, degenerate, subhuman shower of shite to a fucking rainbow. Yeah? Is it because they're always fucking unhappy? Yeah? What to do is take a picture of a rainbow, put it in your mind, and then smear it with fucking shite and put a cock-sucking fucking retard being fucked in his arse at a fucking gangbang next time you see a rainbow. Do you really want to associate that fucking scum whom you're being taught by genocidal Zionist Jews to see as being the pinnacle of male perfection when they don't develop beyond 3, and Sigmund Freud classified them as being paraphiliacs. You know, the guy who knows a wee bit about the brain. However, along comes a fucking Zionist Jew, and next thing it's classified no longer as being considered an enormous mental disfigurement and gross incapacity, mental deficiency, an infantile state of sexuality. These imbecilic, narcissistic spastics and megalomaniacal lunatics never develop beyond. It's no longer that. Now it's something, it's gay pride and they're encouraged to come out. Yeah? They are the scum of the fucking earth and have shit for their brains and need shot through the fucking face. Yeah? So, there's no need to shout, you hurt my bum monkey. Fuck you and your bum monkey. Here's the thing, right? So next time you see a rainbow, think of shooting a poof in the face. I would add one caveat. 10% of poofs are just innocent females who are born in the wrong body and are perverted by these Zionist fucking cunts to be fucking ending up in relationships with this 90% of fucking subhuman filth. Yeah? A poof is a pervert who's so shallow and such a mentally handicapped, stupid, subhuman cunt, it starts lying to itself at 3 and it never fucking stops. Yeah, to it. Reality is just as valid as fantasy and vice versa. They have no frontal brain function and their fucking brain proves it. So to you, right, you have to see them as a fucking rainbow, right? However, to them, they see you as a fucking object. An object they want to be evil towards because at their rotten fucking core, they're existentially envious of you. Right? Existentially envious of you. Because there's no fucking meaning to their life. They've got no frontal brain function, no feeling in their body. They're just cold inside. They're wired back to front. 8 out of every 10 poofs is left-handed, right? Wired back to front. Everything they think is back to front because they're weak surrender monkeys, right? Every single thing they weakly surrender to, like the exact opposite of what a man should be, sucking cocks. The exact opposite of what a man should be doing, being fucked in the arse. They are beasts, yeah? 2 out of every 3 poofs is a fucking beast needing shot through its fucking face, or as I've already said, being neutered, yeah? But that's the shite who lie pathologically to delay suicide and to ameliorate what they are. These pieces of fucking crap start lying pathologically, as I've said, at 3. And then they start bullshitting themselves. That this is a great gift they've got, and on they fucking go, behind whom are Zionist bloody Jews who are promoting that fucking shite whilst heterosexual men are throwing themselves off every major bridge in the country every fucking night. And females are killing themselves as well, but don't forget, females and poofs are the exact same fucking thing, right? I'll tell you where it went wrong. Thanks, Bagoon. I look forward to this. No problem, Wayne. Right? It went wrong when we stopped executing witches and warlocks. Right? Here's the thing, right? Why did your ancestors execute witches and warlocks? Right? Answer? Really quite simple. Your ancestors were farmers, big burly men, right? They knew every single person in their village. Why would they fucking drown someone who they could just club over the fucking head or snap their neck like a fucking twig? Why? What was it about this person that everybody knew in the village for decades? What is it about this piece of fucking shit that made every single person who knew it intimately in this close-knit village life take it to the nearest river and drown the cunt, where the majority who were drowned were actually male? Warlocks, right? So, what was it they were getting up to? Of course, the answer is they were going ooga booga, this kind of fucking traditional shite, this primitive, primeval thinking, magical thinking, right? So, the warlock would try and get a child, usually a boy, and shag him and then hope nobody else finds out. Just like a child thinks everyone's disappeared when it puts its hands over its eyes. Where did you go there? And the thing is, so the witch is the exact same. She would be useful because she would, you know, come up with herbs and potions that would help you, but she would get carried away and she would, you know, befoul and defile the village. And so she'd be taken to this river, right? And there was specific ways they killed these witches and warlocks, right? Right? And these were moral people. These were people who knew right from wrong and were considering it. You know, didn't just decide to just drown a witch for no reason at all, right? And they took the female. It's very important why they took the female, and especially the male who was the fucking same as it. It's really simple. You ready? The female psychopath brain, the megalomaniacal female psychopath brain, is dominant over all other brains. Its genes are dominant. Just like if you have sex with an African, your child will not be white, right? It will be brown, you know, or light brown, yeah? Its genes are dominant, their genes are dominant. So, yeah, here's the thing. So they correctly executed these females because they had this shite fucking brain, this incontinent, mental quadriplegic, squawking, subhuman abomination, right? So, think of the way they killed her. Wanting to put her underwater, and it was usually for 15 minutes they would do it for, right? And she'd be down there for 15 minutes, and if you look at the top left-hand side of a computer keyboard, they all have an evil survival conviction. Underwater for 15 fucking minutes, and when they took her back up again, she'd still be alive, right? That's what they're like. These motherfuckers, you can, you know, bounce them 90 miles an hour down the fucking road and the motherfuckers still seem to bounce back like cartoon characters. Here's the thing, right? So that was one method, and if she didn't drown, think of the determination of people who knew her whole life. They took her and made a bonfire for her and burned her alive at the stake because she had to be purified by fire. That the drowning was actually a blessing because drowning was a kind of a peaceful way for her to go, right? However, wait for it. Another way they killed her and the warlock was putting them in a field, putting planks of wood on top of them, right? And then piling stones to a sufficiency whereby over a period of usually 3 days, the person would slowly but surely be crushed to death. Now, why would these, you know, moral Christian human beings who knew somebody their whole life do this to a female or a male they knew so intimately, right? And all reach a consensus, right? The answer is, that's what megalomaniacs are doing to you. They put weight on you, right? It's an oppression, right? But they call it depression. Depression, to depress something means to let it up. Everything these spastics say to you is the exact opposite. It's backwards. They're backwards. They're weak surrender monkeys. They're wired backwards. They're left-handed, right? They kick with the other foot. So, these primitive, backward, weak surrender monkeys, lacking this frontal brain function, they try to make sense of their perception of reality, like it's primeval magical thinking. You know, if you left them to their own devices, they'll be dancing naked in the woods around a fucking cauldron. Yeah. And so, the point being, your ancestors wisely executed the female, her genes being dominant for that type of brain, which, if they're passed on, go into the man and create a paedophile that they used to call a warlock, right? So, along come Jews with their printing press, right? Right? and they start announcing what morality is, what you're supposed to consider as being an updated morality which suits these wee pricks, right? Now, Yehoshua of Nazareth said famously on record, the Pharisees keep making up fucking absolute shite and pretending it's moral. They have no concept of morality. They're evil. They're of their father, the devil, who was a liar from the start, an evil sinner from the start. Right? And then the Pharisees had him assassinated. They begged for him to be crucified. Yeah? So, that wasn't the only sin that he was railing about. It was a very important one. Because they're the ones who dictate to you what morality is. They're the ones who tell you what you can't say. You can't say the truth. Why would that be? Answer, right? They have an evil agenda which they're carrying out, crushing you into an early grave, calling it depression, right? Try to make you narcissistic as possible so there's even more excuse to be an incontinent arsehole towards other people, right? And who's the number one target? Well, it's twofold really. And number one target is a man and his son, right? That's the number one target, right? So the man ends up throwing himself off a bridge as all these thankless poofters and thankless so-called feminists who are being bred explode exponentially in the gene pool ever since Jews started announcing that it was immoral to kill them, right? So the dominant genes for the female witch that ends up in the warlock produces more shite like the Zionist Jew's brain. So the fucking Jew can then blend in and has incumbent people already within the country who will be of like mind, welcome the fucking Jew and then be complicit with it, yeah, to destroy the fucking country and take over. And that's what you've got, right? You've got a bunch of so-called Freemasons who are paedophiles, who are 100% complicit with Zionist Jews, who all try to make sense of their primeval magical thinking by pretending Satan exists and dancing about the woods, sacrificing children, raping children, cannibalising children, just like they're cannibalising the whole species, and ultimately will consume their own tail, right? They are lunatics who are maniac level, right? They are as primitive as it's possible to be, and they promoted homosexuals, what, out of love for homosexuals? No, right? If they loved homosexuals, then they would be Christ-like towards them, as I have been, yet every single one of them has revealed itself to me, yeah? And many of them have actually begged me to kill them, right? Genuinely. They wanted me to be the one who killed them, yeah? Or at least unconsciously, if not consciously. And here's the thing, right? I told them I was busy, yeah? And so, have a gay day, right? And there's a rainbow. Slide down here, fuck. Here's a point, right? These poofs are encouraged the exact same way females are, right? Even throughout history, though, every single culture taught a female to know her place and a poof to be shunned at best, right? Or be executed, right? So, Zionist Jews know this. So as I've already stated, they want to promote this kind of a brain as the number one targets men and their sons. The men throw themselves off bridges. Why? Because all these thankless pieces of crap have been raised to become incontinent arseholes, thankless, hate-consumed, myopic imbeciles. When they're butthurt, you must suffer. Yeah? Because they are butthurt, you must suffer. Yeah? It doesn't get more butthurt than a poofter, you know what I'm saying? So, here's the thing, right? In a nutcake, right? Right? Really simple. If you were raised with a father in the house, but he's too busy building bridges then throwing himself off them on behalf of Zionist Jews who want to kill you. So, right? The female and the poofter are not taught to sit on the fucking naughty step. So, they never grow these minuscule proto-emotions they have, which they make much ado about throughout the entire course of their life. Much ado about nothing, right? And you're taught by Zionist Jews and their mindless propaganda and the Judean Post and every outcrop of that, every media nonsense, every spouting, stupid, narcissistic, mindless spastic who's fuck all. That's just the seat they want on the Titanic, right? It's worthless, self-deluded garbage, right? Here's the thing, right?
So they don't sit on the naughty step, so they don't develop the capacity for blaming themselves, otherwise known as remorse. And to simplify that, there's a relay between your amygdala and your ventromedial cortex. It has to be articulate, or you never ever develop the guiding light of remorse. So 9 out of every 10 females and 9 out of every 10 poofs are remorseless. Fact, right? So they're morally vacant, they've got very limited right frontal lobe, they're not really civilised, they're not really evolved in the right frontal lobe, their brain scans establish this, right? Their left frontal lobe is grossly incapacitated in both cases as well, so they don't, as I've said, see anybody other than being a sex object, right? Just, you know, something to grab and throw away, or to milk, or what have you. So, they idealise themselves and a phenomenal love one day that they're good enough for. However, this comes from the exact same scenario, right? It comes from the exact same thing, right? They have very limited ability to see into the future. So everything's mapped out for them by these Zionist cunts. So, they don't sit in the naughty step. So they become emotionally incontinent, right? These proto-emotions never develop capacity or the wisdom of blaming yourself and then growing, right? So this atrophies their hippocampus, which means they don't develop the ability to store any depth of emotion with memory due to this left frontal lobe dysfunction into the bargain. The right frontal lobe means they never develop either. They remain core inadequate. They have no object constancy. So this makes them this kind of blame projecting, insecure, core insecure, untrustworthy, untrusting therefore, narcissistic, megalomaniac. Because the other thing is this, they're not set any boundaries without a father, right? And culture makes them unbidden. You know, so females are promoted to become sluts, and so are poofs, who are encouraged to become out as much as possible, who have, I repeat, no self-awareness at all due to this problem here. And so, when they out themselves like that, these females, these Jews know, when a female has anything happen to her that she didn't want to happen, or she recriminates over, or doesn't feel entirely perfect about it, she is anal about it till the day she dies. So if she has a series of these events, she becomes an obnoxious, incontinent arsehole who's a fucking scumbag who you wouldn't want to be around. So she's going to abuse any man who suffers her, who endures her incontinence. Because the other two important factors when raising a child is keeping them on the naughty step, right? Setting hard and fast rules for boundaries, yeah? And waking them up when they pursue unobtainium, right? So these three important factors, without them, without a father to inject that wisdom, which the mother will lack neuroanatomically, right? Then she becomes incontinent, she becomes inconsolable, because without boundaries, that type of mind becomes miserable incarnate, misery incarnate. He said miserable incarnate, that's how I'm more intelligent than him. So here's the thing, right? So she wants unobtainium, she's fucking inconsolable, and she's an incontinent arsehole. I'll give you a further insight, right? See, at one end of a female, you have a continent arsehole and a useful cunt. At the other end, you have an incontinent arsehole and a fucking useless cunt. Fact, right? Jews don't want you to know that. Funny, that, isn't it? Here's the thing. So the homosexual is a very clear insight into what the pathological lying female, who thinks that's intelligence is, and the pathological lying poof, who's more out than she is, because although it's got the same mind map as the female, it's got larger capacity, so it's even more of an evil cunt than the average female. So, now in this day and age, you are seeing 2 out of every 3 females, the megalomaniacal psychopath brain that was routinely drowned. So that's due to Zionist Jews tinkering, engineering and programming. So, in the absence of the father, which leaves the fatherless son, who then becomes ripe to enter into these shit cones to prey on their own, which goes all the way back to Roman atypical divide and conquer strategy. Unsurprisingly, instigated by homosexual psychopaths, in other words, megalomaniacs. So, the poof is encouraged to out itself, even though it has the same, anal butt hurt for life, where it refuses to blame itself, it's inconsolable, and in hot pursuit of unobtainium, and this ideal love that it benefits from one day that it doesn't deserve because it's not developed its true self, it's no depth. Its megalomania comes from not being able to see itself, as best lampooned by St. Bram Stoker, right? So, it can't see itself, so its gauge is disproportionate when compared to reality. And it hates that because it's been groomed by paedophiles who are Zionist Jews in this generation of Pharaoh to believe it's something it's not. If you look at the brain scan, why I call them a unitard now, is it's a solitary pathology ingrained straight down the middle of their head. And the last two posts I did, which you can find there, there, if you click on the American football helmet and then read the posts called Measure Yourself and then Sunshine, Sunshine in that order, then you'll see the final thesis on the lunatic, maniac level lunatic. So, now, homosexuals and females are encouraged to become sluts and to out themselves, become even more out, and to go, fuck you, it's brilliant being a slag. You're not supposed to be judgmental according to them, your new dictator. So, everything that's wrong with a female is encouraged to out itself, which is self-destruction, amongst others. Everything that's wrong with a homosexual, I repeat, if these people cared about homosexuals, why wouldn't they tell them some of the most basic concepts about homosexuality? What must it be that the Zionist Jews know that homosexuals don't know, these so-called intelligent people? Well, it's really simple, right? When you have unprotected sex with a female, right, due to evolution, she has antibodies which, crystallise the sperm and freeze it, really, against her cunt walls, to use a technical term. And, the sperm, though, over time thinks, fuck this, I'm getting in that fucking egg, I want chips to go with it. And so basically the sperm builds up these antibodies, yeah? So it's putting out something to lower her immune system, right? And then, elbows its way in to a fucking breakfast, right? So here's the truth of the hidden facts, right? When a homosexual has unprotected sex, right? In other words, a paraphiliac, right? In 9 out of 10 cases, right? And the male injects its semen into the anus. Evolution has no antibodies for this at all. So here's these sperms going in, right? Which have the evolved, determined ability to lower the immune system to impregnate the egg. But there is no egg. And the ass canal, the rectum doesn't have anything to protect itself with in the fucking first place, like the vagina does. Yeah. So it's completely unprotected in the first place, right? It tears very, very easily, Yeah. It's not like the average female's vagina, it's like a fucking Wellington boot entrance, The thing is, this is just an easily torn rectum where the immune system is lowered just by it being torn, and the sperms themselves, they lower it on purpose, deliberately themselves, in the pursuit of not being crystallised and finding an egg, right? So every time the homosexual has sex, it's having its immune system lowered, right? So it's being drained of its health. You couldn't make it up, right? So that's just one of the things that's wrong with a homosexual. They're encouraged to pursue unobtainium. They're encouraged to delude themselves, their masterminds, right? Because they're never taught about emotional intelligence. They lie pathologically, so they only have themselves to blame for ingraining this solitary pathology. Just like females as well, these arrested, ingrained weaklings, right? Who lie to themselves, make token gestures, and everything's all smoothed away, right? So, these imbeciles, right? are promoted above men by miles, and then told they're being persecuted, which is of course not true. The minuscule proto-emotion makes them feel paranoid and that they are being persecuted. Remember, they're anal, so it suits this incontinence. So they're encouraged to man-bash from every angle. Why? Zionist Jews behind all the propaganda want this to happen, and don't tell you about the suicide rate of men every night. And all these corrupt losers, right, want to prey on these men because it makes them feel better, because they feel this man has it easier. They're told constantly this man has it easier. He's part of a patriarchy when the majority of Zionist Jews are female. I think 60%. So that hideous megalomaniac brain that your ancestors used to routinely drown, burn or crush or even hang or drag behind horses, you know, they really wanted rid of that cunt, whether it was in a male or a female body. They wanted rid of it, right? Wisely, and like I say, along comes Zionist Jews, right, with their Tommy Tippy printing press, right? These wee fucking lying pygmy spastics who are fucking paedophiles, right? Who are pseudo-Satan worshipping fucking reptiles who are cannibals, right? And behind every fucking destruction of every fucking country you can shake a stick at for the last 300 years. So they're determined, right? There's no meaning to their life, right? And likewise with homosexuals and females, the meaning to their life would be meeting that, you know, ideal fucking unobtainium person, but they don't deserve them. They're incontinent arseholes. No great man wants to be with an incontinent arsehole. Yeah, yeah. No great man wants an incontinent arsehole. He might end up with one, but doesn't really want to put a fucking ring on another one, you know? And so, here's the thing, right? So, all of this leads, and I could go over all the stats and facts on the female suicide rate, which is astronomical, the female murder rate, which is now astronomical, females murdering men, both covertly and overtly, and also the enormous propensity of crime committed by homosexuals who need to be exterminated. 2 out of every 3 boz off or executed, an additional quarter. It's the unconscious rule, right? Now, they've no insight into their unconscious. So even though you're innocent, right, they want to treat you in a certain way to make themselves feel better, right? They are just inconsolable scum, right? And because they know they're just a fucking sham, a hollow sham, right? So if you knew that's what you were and you had all this promise and it's all bullshit by a bunch of genocidal Zionist fucking Jews, right? Yeah, you might be a bit bitter, and you're programmed to be bitter, and you're genetically, you know, so limited without these boundaries and in this obsession with unobtainium and being an incontinent arsehole in the first instance, yeah, who never sat in the naughty step. It's all tantamount to these great expectations lead to even enormous disappointments. And these incontinent scumbags who are disproportionate in their delusions of grandeur, right? The delusions they'll always suffer from, these incontinent lunatics, can be relied upon to target men. Yeah. And these females can be relied upon to target men, and these fucking worthless, stupid fucks are promoted constantly. Your industry, in fact, you're taken away from your farms, brought into the city, you're then forced into industry, which is then taken away, replaced by service industries, so that these stupid fucking cows who are taught that IQ is more important than EQ, remembering total shite from primary school, is important, qualifications mean something, and then they replace the men, and still they're taught to complain, and most of them are fucking in on it. And Erin Pizzi proved beyond any shadow of a doubt that 3/4 of females who take charges against innocent men are fully cognizant they're using a kangaroo court system run by Freemasonic paedophiles against the innocent man who ends up suffering PTSD because these females don't have a gauge. They weren't raised with a father to say, right, that's enough, right? Don't keep bullying your brother. And she then realises, was that what I'm doing? Right? And it makes more sense to her. But if she doesn't have that father, she's got a mother who's also got no gauge, and she might also hate her son because he reminds her of the father, who's now absent, and even though she harassed and harangued him and caused him brain damage, right, and he's finally had to leave as she wouldn't want him in the house, and she got rid of him, now with her butt hurt, which is always somebody else's fault, she wants him back because she now thinks he's getting it easy, whereas she's raising these bastards. She's a fucking whining 3-year-old prick. Right, so here's a thought, to be more accurate, pricks. She used to be tiny pipsqueak amygdaloid cortex. So at the end of it all, right, you can see the core inadequacy and also the fact that homosexuals know they're full of fucking shit. Because if you're getting everything your own way and everything you're talking to yourself about is true, why would you still be fucking absolutely raging? Even when you're marching down the street in front of a gay parade, right? And dressed imbecilically in bright pink fucking chiffon, mad makeup with a big mad staring face, because it's really important that everyone know that you are fucking mad, right? So, and it's meant to be a gay pride and it's rainbows and fucking fanny cakes, right? But anytime somebody takes their photograph, the homosexual always walks up to the camera and goes, you know, it's this raging Jimmy Savile face. You know, this, well, why are you not happy? You could not have it more your own way, you inbred lunatic. Yeah? You're marching down the fucking street wearing a woman's dress with fucking garish makeup, your music blasting out on a fucking flotilla of truck after truck of mad benders whose entire identity is sucking cock and being fucked in the arse. And still, when you're rubbing everyone's fucking nose in it, you are still consumed with hatred because you know it's all perversion. Yeah. That's what it is. They're so fucking shallow, with so little frontal guide in their neuroanatomy, when they tell a lie, when they decide to do something and it's bad for themselves, they will never blame themselves, right? They've never sat on the naughty step for long enough, yeah? So, right? They fucking never blame themselves, these fucking stupid bastards to whom reality is just as valid as fantasy because they're mentally handicapped fucking mental quadriplegics who are fucking harebrained with no peripheral fucking concept to their brain, and you're groomed by Zionist Jews to not punch their fucking lights out. Yeah? And if that's true, there should be a specific phrase that Zionist Jews invented to stop you from correctly punishing these stupid spastics and providing them with the boundaries they weren't provided with in youth because most of them have no fathers. When someone has no boundaries, right, and they know they're full of fucking shit and you allow them to get to that extent where they're marching to the street in a woman's dress, for fuck's sake, right, it makes them already the inconsolable, butt-hurt, incontinent arsehole who's a self-deluded mental quadriplegic who's a harebrained fucking imbecile. The only thing shite like that, understand, is physical punishment across the fucking board. And Zionist Jews invented a phrase to ban you from it. It's, you know, they're the dictators of morality. And what's the phrase? Fag bashing. Yeah, there's no promotion of man bashing being a bad thing. No, that's promoted as being a good thing because remember, females are persecuted, homosexuals are persecuted. Have you ever seen a flotilla of men walking down the street going, it's brilliant being heterosexual and a family man? You know, no, you don't. You know, it's mad puffs who are so cut off from reality, they're just a carnal beast who's so fucking obsessed with sex, it introduces itself by what type of sex it likes. Hi, I'm Steve and I like being fucked in the arse. Hi, I'm Davey and I like sucking men's cocks. Yeah? I'm heterosexual, right, a randy man, right? I've never once in my life introduced myself and said, hi, I'm Erol, I like to backscuttle really hot bitches with a big broad beam. Right, ever, never, right? So, why is it culturally accepted for these fucking harebrained imbeciles to introduce themselves by what type of sex they like, which is invariably a perversion, a perverse, superficial fucking pervert. There's no such thing as homosexuality. It's someone who's wired back to front, who's a weak, self-bullshitting imbecile who never blames itself, and when it chooses to do something weakly, it then becomes a way of fucking life to cover its trail. Fuck me, right? So, yeah, they're mopping the road up after the fucking flotilla because all the fucking imbeciles are bleeding from the arse when they walk past. So, in a nutcake, right? That's what a homosexual so-called male is. It's a paraphiliac, right? And now, because of you failing to execute females who have that dominant brain, it's now got into the male column. Now 7 out of every 10 Western males is a paraphiliac, right? 1 out of every 3 is a paedophile. So that's 1 out of every 3 males who needs to either be executed or neutered, right? Now you think about those massive numbers. If you put them together, that's half the population of every Western country just about. So that's the insurmountable seeming problem Zionist Jews have left you. They could surrender, they could say blah blah blah. It's not what animals are all about. Animals, if they can dominate you, they will try to, and if they can succeed, they will do the level best. In fact, it's the meaning to their life. So these harebrained imbeciles, from my experience of that shite, when I've studied them, the imbecile gets locked into this fucking tube cruel competition only it's in, because the only thing it has to ameliorate against being a humiliating, self-degraded, belittled imbecile is this delusion of intelligence. And humans are in mental bondage, right? You've been groomed to not fag bash, don't be a misogynist, don't be anti-Semitical, right? Men are to blame for everything these abominations are to blame for. When men's brain scans prove they have greater capacity, right? And they suffer pain much more emotionally. So these pieces of fucking shit are being used by Zionist Jews to prey on these men. But if you were to say to these stupid cows everything that I'm fucking saying, and say to these benders, you're being used by Zionist Jews to destroy a whole fucking country on their behalf, so they can bring back fucking Armageddon. You know, bring Mel Gibson's Apocalypto into the open, which is what they want. So, these genocidal, nitwitted fucking spastics who are insects in a human skull, right? If you were to say this to the average poof and female, they would say, I don't care, because they're locked into a hate campaign against an innocent fucking man. The liar has basically convinced herself, or itself, deserves it, has it coming, brought it on themselves, and they're asking for it. So 2 of every 3 females is a paedophile guilty of emotional incest against their own fucking children, right? And guilty of evil mountains of crime against innocent men, because she's a butt-hurt spastic who's a fucking slut and an anal imbecile who is an inconsolable, boundaryless lunatic or lunatic obsessed with unobtainium, right? Because she's cut off from reality and told she's this, that and the other, when she's fuck all. So this is what Zionist Jews do, right? So along comes me, Mr. Innocent, right? I don't know my mother's a paedophile, right? She's guilty of enormous crimes of emotional incest. I didn't know, right? So my father's been run off by her because she's a megalomaniacal psychopath. And they are remorseless, as I've explained. They have no self-awareness, so they're grandiose in their delusions. They lie pathologically, and all brains believe whatever you tell them. So, tell themselves. Did I say sorry there? Fuck you. So the point is this, right? So if you say something over and over to yourself, you unconsciously start to act on it. So the problem is with megalomaniacs, they've got no feeling in their body, so they've no additional insight into their unconscious. They've got no mind, so they've no insight into their unconscious. It's really quite important when you pretend poofs and females are equal or superior to men to know that 9 out of every 10 females has no mind. It's called cognitive empathy. They have none, right? So they're not equal, because that would be comparing 0 to something, yeah? So along comes me, right? And I'm targeted by a family of serial killers. I didn't know. They're all megalomaniacal psychopaths. They see themselves as being homosexual, but what they are is weak perverts. So they're very, very superficial, and anything they feel like doing, they confirm their bias and go and do it. And this becomes embittering over time. And their grandiose delusions are spurned and flattened due to their volatility, their infantile, obnoxious incontinence, not sitting on the naughty step. And also any original butt hurt, which may be a valid sob story, is then used by the pathological liar as a pity play to try and get things they're not entitled to, and also pretend revenge against innocent human beings, otherwise known as pretenge. Yeah. And the innocent human being atypically being an innocent man who tend to throw themselves off bridges, as most human men don't have a fucking clue what post-traumatic stress disorder is. And these cows and these poofs are obsessed with trying to get him to feel that he's to blame for what they're to blame for. It's the exact same shit. They don't blame themselves, so they don't develop and grow on the naughty step, right? No one sets them any fucking boundaries. They're encouraged to the nth degree to pursue unobtainium, and all of this leads to the incontinence, which leads to the destruction of a whole continent, right? So there we are. So I had a female with half a brain walk into my life, and I didn't know, right? Behind her, she led me to believe her son, and I think also a twin brother was involved, whom she referred to as being a ghoul, somebody who was ghoulishly stupid. She referred to him as being a gimp in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, and she also referred to him as being like the Elephant Man. So he was in an awful state. Now I don't know if he's still alive, and whether it's just her son who helps her try and commit crimes against innocent good men, sanctioned by the entire paedophile ring of pretend Satan worshippers, all trying to make sense of their primeval mental quadriplegia. So when she came into my life, I did not know that she had an earpiece in, and a homosexual so-called, who's a paraphiliac, remember, who sees people as objects and wants pretenge against them, to ameliorate against their butt hurt, right? And which is nobody else's fault, and they've been privileged to the nth degree, and yet still they want pretend revenge. So this mezzanine of homosexuals, so-called, are giving her messages of what to say. They're listening into the conversation between us. For 2.5 months, they tried what was called love bombing, but it didn't work. And I said I was going to just leave it and crack on, because after 2.5 months, she still hadn't spoken to me on the phone. Although several times throughout the whole period of it, you know, a large percentage was her communicating with me, and she was responsible for the songs, many of which to titillate herself because of her enormous volume of hatred for her true self, which she wants to take out on innocent people. So I couldn't have been more caring towards her, encouraging, understanding, and so on. She lied pathologically on record. So once again, like I said, I didn't know that most of the typing at key moments was being done by either her son or this abomination she referred to, who may be her twin brother, who were identical twins, she led me to believe, Siamese twins. So once again, she lies pathologically, so it could be like an ex-husband or both, you know, because she told me she was incestuous. So anyway, the point is this: whoever the mezzanine of homosexuals, paraphiliacs, human-hating garbage, just chicken-brained filth, hair-brained lunatics are, it's irrelevant, you know. They've been sending me crap, trying to tell me who they are on and off for years. I'm absolutist in my thinking, so I don't conclude about anything, nor do I dismiss anything until I'm absolutely certain. So I'll carry it there, along with all the billions and trillions of other things I carry with me on countless other different subjects. However, the world's all about the unitard in their fantasy world. So they'll send you crap and want you to look at it. However, early doors, before she came into my life proper, for the short spell for our criminal campaign, and our foiled criminal campaign at that, and also a romantic campaign that she wanted assistance with to try to woo me, and then see, I could be drawn down into her stupid, disgusting, ridiculous, imbecilic, demoralised vice obsession. So because she feels bad about having no moral conscience and wants to confirm her bias, like all so-called psychopaths, they want to confirm their bias that being a unitard who's a mental quadriplegic doesn't affect your perception of reality. So, yeah, just like a mouse thinks exactly the same way as an elephant, you know, and an elephant the exact same way as a man, you know, and a man the exact same way as a fucking snake, you know. I can hear puffs and females screaming that that's true. So, that's what happens when you're raised by a single parent. So, she was sitting by my side, and I tried to get rid of her, like I say, and then she ended up on the telephone, quite desperate not to lose me, but obviously wanting pretend because I'd had enough of somebody seeming to try to draw my attention down to a microdot, which I explained at the time. I'm busy, I'm trying to tell her, you know, I want to do these great things with my life. And I was flying high. So, the thing is this, right? She's on the phone, and yeah, I wasn't, you know, brilliant towards her because she told me she was an alcoholic who'd aged in dog years. I was just constantly playing this fucking pity play all the fucking time. So I thought I was doing her a favour because she said she'd been abused by everybody in her relationships, and so I was going to teach her how to love herself, and I thought, probably let her go, right? That would be high on the agenda. And however, I was going to be really kind to her and generous to her, as I explained in previous videos. So I had nothing but good intention and wrote that to somebody else at the time who I also didn't know was a prostitute either, who had killed one of her boyfriends. So there's an epidemic of females who need shot through the face, who are serial killers, who want you to think it makes you a bad man for shooting females through the face whom your ancestors would have routinely drowned, burned or crushed to death, hung or dragged behind fucking wild horses, right? For a reason. So it's really simple. Zionist Jews need shot through the face. Freemasons need shot through the face. Your police farce, first and foremost, need shot through the face, and you've got an army who can fucking do it. Right? It's your army. So here's the thing, right? Right? Females need to know their fucking place, and poofs need to shut the fuck up and get out of the fucking town. Yeah. Fuck off. Do your shit in the distance, you filthy, degenerate, stupid cunts. You went the wrong way. It's your fault. So, they're weak because they're wired back to front, yeah. Everything they do is just weak, yeah. They're limp-wristed fucking Nancy boys. No, here's the thing, right? But that shite brain gets into the male column. So you get big 6 foot fucking 3 ones of them who'll call themselves bears. Yeah. I think most of them support Sevco. So, here's the thing, right? I, like I say, wanted shot of her one way or the other. However, I was wanting to be kind to her, really generous towards her. And so I gave her X amount of cash, a lovely, lovely, generous gift with a nice history attached to it. I thought we had a lot in common. I tried to be really nice to her. And, you know, cared about her and tried to encourage her. However, shite like that are unitards. And the spastic's entire psychology is a solitary thought. It's amazing. It took me 4 decades to be able to magnify the spastic to the nth degree. So, what it is this, right? It's just a solitary pathology, and it goes in that direction, and that direction, and that is it, right? And it's obsessed with reaction. So, the spastic will say something to you, hoping it has a negative effect on you, right? And then you choose to trigger your fight or flight mechanism. The spastic ideally wants to get you at the biting point and keep you there. Because if they can do that to you, then they cause you post-traumatic stress disorder, because you're suppressing your right to execute the high-functioning spastic, right? Who's a mental quadriplegic, right? Who you call a psychopath. So if you think about it, 9 out of every 10 of your so-called politicians are blackmailed high-functioning spastics, right? Who need to be shot through the face, right? Or at least neutered, right? They have no frontal brain function. They're just like Jimmy Savile, standing in front of you, consumed with hatred, hiding in plain view, ejaculating in plain view, hating you for its lack of boundary that you're not providing it. You know, Rolf Harris, tie me orphan down, boy. You know, it's a fucking... How much more obvious could he have made his paedophilia. And when I met her, I spoke to her about Rolf Harris, and the tell was enormous. I didn't want to believe that Rolf Harris was one man, but you know, I knew when I read the tell, it was no surprise when they fucking caught that prick, you know. When you look at Gary Glitter and you look at all these pricks who stand in front of you and ejaculate in plain view as Hitler did, right? How many more of them would you have to witness before you realise, oh fuck, they look human, they seem talented because they're high functioning retards, but they're not human. They're what my ancestor used to routinely execute for a fucking reason before Jews came along with their printing press, right? For a reason, because they want to fucking blend in. These wee fucking traitors, these wee treacherous pricks, right? Obviously they're going to be siding with somebody who's of like mind. So this is a mind which is not a like mind, right? It sees everybody outside of its circle as being the bad breast, evil, what they are. Right? You are what they are, right? And these men throwing themselves off bridges, genuinely, most of them have been told they are what the perpetrator is, right? Most men are now murdered by females. There's a 600% increase in females murdering men in the last 10 years alone. Fact, right? And homosexuals are the #1 perpetrator of all crime, right? After females. So, wait for it, the least likely victim of crime, of all crime, is a female. And #1 place are heterosexual, innocent, kind, good men. Because these fucking pieces of shit just see men as sex objects, and it's convenient. They don't get genuine revenge against people from the past. They don't go and dig up their grandparents and smash their fucking skulls in, no. For daring to inbreed on a fucking moonless night under an estuary bridge when they fucking mistook paint stripper for vodka, right? Right? They take it out only on kind men, which they mistake for weakness in my case. And because you'll do. Because all the incontinent arsehole cares about is this bad feeling it's got. Because it's a hate-consumed imbecile who blames everybody but its fucking self when it fucking knows it's to blame. But as I've said, when you lie to yourself enough, your unconscious starts to believe it. They've got no insight into their unconscious and no feeling to guide them. Plus, over time, they become sex offenders and fucking enjoy it. And that's what I was about to experience. So, there's a mezzanine of poofters who have got shit for their brains, behind her, talking in her ear, giggling, and she's following their orders, right? And they're trying to keep her right as well because she's serving two masters. A dog serving two masters was the phrase that resonated with her. So sometimes it's her son, and I think other times it might have been this ghoul. Although she also led me to believe the ghoul had died, so I don't know who if the ghoul was still alive by this juncture, but certainly was given the impression the ghoul was alive, and he was changing shifts, punching out and punching in with her son. Now think about how evil and degenerate and what a fucking scumbag you would have to be to involve your son in your prostitution, right? Her brother, if he exists, fucking, if he's still there, whoring out his sister. Her son, whoring out his mother. Because a phrase that resonated with her was, in one ear and out your mother. And so it really resonated with her. It was one of my phrases that I borrowed from somewhere, I think, or I'd come up with it. And like I say, it really resonated with her. And all these different kind of phrases, you know. And she kept referring to somebody called Tom, ground control to Major Tom, Peeping Tom, and Tom and Jerry and this kind of thing. She also spoke about voyeurism, as though there was this, you know, panting paraphiliac in the background enjoying this, which I presume wouldn't be her son, so would presume this would be her brother. Although it could also be like an ex-husband or she was a bigamist. She had 3 husbands, she told me, were in the background. And so I think she used the idea of a fancy man to abuse him. I think he may have cheated on her because she cheated on him countless times. And I think although he went up in her estimations for that, she wanted to punish him. And so she was getting this fancy man. And since she's been a prostitute her whole life, and a junkie and a criminal. It just came naturally to her if she thought there was any weakness on my part. And the weakness she mistook even. The weakness was me being kind to her as she petitioned me to be for months with the assistance of her entire family, who are a mezzanine of poofs. Behind whom was her sister, who is basically a gun-toting lunatic, who's, like most females, a pathological liar. Only in her case, she's a sex offender who gets off on punching men through the face, so without justification or alibi of any kind. So anyway, in a nutcake, I don't realise that I'm sitting with a fucking serial killer who's a paranoid schizophrenic, who sees men as sex objects, who half the time sees herself as being a lesbian, who'll fuck anything. And I don't know that she's seeing my kindness as being a weakness, and all throughout she's trying to cause me post-traumatic stress disorder, and I don't know. And she's taking instructions from these subhuman fucking pieces of garbage. Try this, try that, throw yourself in the air and show them what you've had for breakfast this morning. You know, launch yourself in the air and show them your bare arse 6 feet in the air. You know, which she did on more than one occasion. And she was gleeful to an extraordinary extent, which is only describable as maniac level lunacy, right? And which includes obviously imbecility, congenital stupidity, and basically being subnormal. And don't forget imbecility even. So here's the thing, right? When she was lying on the floor, as I demonstrated in the previous video, she went no exaggeration of any kind at all, right? And then just went back to normal when I took a stand against her. So I was glad to see the back of her, launched the cow, and she admitted that she had been trying to commit a crime against me. But then she tried to reseduce me, because presumably things didn't go too well back in the sewer works below Naria. So she then comes back into my life, because I still don't know she's a serial killer who hates men outside of her magic circle of mongs. And so the mezzanine and her are then in high gear to try and reseduce me. And I was determined to give her no more money, although I was kind and generous to her to a fault. However, her being the fault. And as soon as she let me know that she was a con, that was an end to the matter. So, the second time she came back, half her ambition was to try and reseduce me. If she couldn't, then try and cause me PTSD and hopefully do some long-lasting damage. However, she was witnessed by my next door neighbour, screaming her head off in my old house in Denaltox and out in the street. And she gave a witness statement against her. So, unbeknownst to me, she's been doing this her whole life. I don't know at that juncture that the whole criminal system is predicated on shite like her. And she told me this in person. So, me, with my social experiments, I had to see for myself. Right, so, here's the thing. Just thought I'd give you another one there, for good measure. So, I typed the truth about her on Facepants in a very understanding way. And as I exposed in Erol On the Police Farce Arrest 1, I think, a rule made up again by to arrest men so they throw themselves off bridges or are dragged into the dungeon system, into slave labour for these poofs and females to continue hating men who are the number one victim of all crime by a gargantuan margin. Right, so to produce the fatherless children who are ripe to be exploited by the system and collapse the country which Zionist Jews are renowned for, see Dresden, right, when it was carpet bombed. So, she told me in person that the whole system's fucked, corrupt, and if I was to bring her to justice, they would arrest me, right? So this law made up by these Pharisees, spastics, that Yehoshua of Nazareth was railing against 2,000 years ago, who make up shit, who've got no moral concept at all, and yet dictate to you what morality is, which is always taking moral men and assassinating them so they can fuck kids. Does that sound moral to you? Or does it sound like somebody who can stand in front of you and go, as it happens, rattle, rattle, jewellery, jewellery. Right? So basically, they ejaculate in plain view. There's no meaning to their life, as I've said. So it's just this hate-consumed fucking imbecile who refuses to blame itself for the punishment you receive
because there's a moral law to the universe, a moral law of the divine that I discovered. And you're welcome, Sparrow. Just keep on pretending that you're originating what you're learning from me, Sparrow. I'm going to expose you very shortly again, Sparrow. Thanks for blocking my publicist from your website after gleaning tons of knowledge from her. Thank you, Sparrow. I'm going to expose you again, Sparrow. Speaking about the organised resistance who are exclusively backed by Zionist Jews, unsurprisingly, which is why they still draw breath, because they're cowards. Whereas I'm a living Christ. And so, and that's what they tend to do to moral men. So the wee serial killing who are obsessed with trying to cause people post-traumatic stress disorder, as are the mezzanine of homos behind her, right? And I don't know this, it's news to me. However, I was raised by a female paedophile. So I explained to her repeatedly, I trained with the best. The reaction you're hoping for, it's a superficial pile of crap you're going over. Your shoes don't match the colour of your chin. It was just absolute fucking shite talk. So I became concerned about the next person they would target, because I didn't think they would be able to look after themselves the way I can. And easily, no one's ever laid a glove on me in my fucking adult life, which is why they would still be drawing breath now, when otherwise they wouldn't. And in a nutcake, right, I was detained under the Telecommunications Act, made up by warmongering paedophiles and their puppets, so that men would be imprisoned, right, en masse. And so I was given the option to get away with it, and I chose not to. I chose to admit that I had indeed typed the truth in an understanding way about a female serial killer, whom I still wasn't absolutely certain about all her ins and outs and trivial, nth degrees that they've been trying to tell me for years about. And so, what happened was really quite simple, right? So, the wee female serial killer phones the police force and says, 4 months ago, Erol's typed the truth about me on Facepants and I've gone terrified. What's this, madam? You've gone terrificationed? I've gone terrificationised. You've gone terrificational alumed. I've gone terrifimalumed. Well, you're a special type of lady cake. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're female and you've got a pulse, then no matter who the guy is, he's getting fucking arrested. Stop, please, stop. Right? And so what happened next was her and her elder sister, whom I'd never met in my fucking life and didn't even know if she existed or not, because the younger one was so surreal and admitted to be mentally ill and talked a lot of shite. So wasn't absolutely certain that her elder sister existed. And so her elder sister, whom I'd never met in my life, right, went to the police farce station in Kirkintilloch and said to them that I'd sent her a bomb in a packet. And so, wait for it, the 2 pigs they spoke to were 5 foot tall and 4'10", right? So here's 2 female serial killers, right? One's a paranoid schizophrenic, megalomaniacal psychopath, right, who's a prostitute and has committed every fucking crime you could possibly imagine against humanity, going back decades. And her whole family worked together to target innocent people for what she called a massive attack, right? Water off my bog window, right? So, and I told her that in person. So, there are 2 female serial killers talking to 2 fucking pygmy inbred Scottish spastics, right? One that looked like something Yul Brynner left in a condom in the 1970s. The other one, wait for it, was a purple-faced fucking rabid megalomaniacal psychopath, right? You couldn't make it up, man. He was a sex offender who works as a pig because he gets off ejaculating whilst trying his best to try and cause innocent men post-traumatic stress disorder, which helps him ameliorate against being a purple-faced dwarf. So, pygmy to be more accurate. Now, his shit was garbage and it didn't work on me, right? And they told me that this is what these 2 lunatic cunts had after committing roughly about 4 dozen crimes against me
and me being very forgiving and writing in an understanding way about it in the end. They felt, oh no, we're going to be exposed, and they also wanted to vacuum me back into her life somehow. So these were her thoughts and her range of cold calculations. And so they took these wee pigs on this merry dance to her elder sister's house, who punches men in the face for sexual pleasure and shoots men. A really lovely family. And they said, "Where's the bomb hen? Where's the packet with the bomb in it?" And she said, "Oh, I can't remember where I put it." On record. If you were sent a fucking bomb, right, and you live in a fucking 3-apartment house or whatever, right, 4-apartment, and basically you put a packet with a bomb down, and there's 2 pigs here, right, would you not remember where you fucking put it? Think about the corruption of the 2 pigs, one of whom's a sex offender, one is a higher functioning sex offender who's so self-deluded, lacking insight into his unconscious, that he can actually bullshit himself that he's not that bad a person, as can the drooling, megalomaniacal, purple-faced fucking pygmy who is no doubt involved in other darker practices, right? So, they don't press her on the subject, which is a ruse to get these pricks to come and visit them. So, they then have this printout from 4 months earlier where they've underlined tiny, tiny fractions that all megalomaniacs want to take out of context, dramatise, hope the entire world disappears, and you choose to have the negative reaction and worry about being thought of as being a bad person by evil incarnate, right? Who need to be exterminated, like your ancestors did with them routinely. So, I'm meet up with these 2 pricks in the middle of the night, right, after I was visited by 2 monks at about 10:30 at night. So here they are, and I trying to explain to them that there's a bigger picture going on, but all they want is an arrest. However, when I start speaking, they realise, oh fuck, he's not guilty at all. But they weren't really that bothered, because they're on a quota. Think about the evil of a quota system, which means you must arrest X amount of people per week as part of your job, guilty or not. Right? So the baldy one, Yul Brynner's bastard love child, he said to me, you know, like, you can get away with this if you don't admit to it now, right? Which is unusual, you know, and as I've said, I admitted to it. So instead of just saying, well, you're under arrest, right, the wee purple-faced goon tried every trick in the book to see if I would choose to trigger my amygdala. And I still wasn't as au fait with it as I am now. It's a unitard, and every single thought it has is, what can I say or do with my spastic brain? He chooses to trigger his own amygdala because of... What can I say or do with my spastic brain? He chooses to have a negative reaction to. What can I say or do with my spastic brain? He chooses to have a negative reaction to. Genuinely, right? And if you choose to have a negative reaction, the unimportant 3-year-old who's a South Sea Island pygmy, then suddenly feels it's grown in importance and it's getting pretend revenge against ghosts from its past. However, its shit was garbage and it was reduced to a fucking state and a half and falling over backwards shouting its head off because its shit was garbage, right? And at the very, very end, I noticed the anomaly I've noticed again and again. Their preferred state is a state of self-delusion. And there's no lengths they won't go to delude themselves. And I'll show that again and again in coming videos. And at the very, very end, a guy with a dark purple face said to me about a slight skin rash I had. I notice you've got a skin rash. It's a little bit red or something. Right? He's jabbering to himself. A pygmy with a purple face, permanently purple face, and without me having any reaction of any kind at all. As I have to choose to have a reaction. I don't have a knee-jerk reaction like everybody else, you know. So I don't have a fight or flight mechanism. I have to choose to trigger it. I have to choose to have a negative reaction. So I'll come back to it in a flash, right? The wee prick presumed I must choose to have a negative reaction to a pygmy with a dark purple face saying this crap, right? However, I didn't. And still he went, right? So that's what I was detained by and arrested by in the middle of the night. Sorry, arrested by, I was detained by 2 other goons I've exposed before. And so there I was, you know, and I didn't realise these spastics are obsessed with, boning up on you. They all have Mission Impossible music playing in their head. So this giant black guy comes from me in the middle of the night, and they'd sent me one of my own artworks to look at, which I dedicated to the late great Bobby Sands, and they were to let me know that I was going to be detained or arrested the next night. So it was no surprise. And when the cell opened, it looked very like my artwork. So it was quite pleasing. And then I was going down in this lift at the end of the day. This black guy came from in the middle of the night, and he'd been reading my FacePants profile with Mission Impossible music playing in the hall between his ears. So I didn't know this, right? And all the way down in the lift, this fucking lunatic, right, kept saying, "I am the greatest fingerprinter of all time." Right? So I didn't realise he'd been reading my FacePant profile, and I referred to myself as being the greatest mind of all time, which just happens to be true. So, he then referred to himself as being the greatest DNA taker of all time, and that's kind of a shite, right? So, behind garbage like that are Zionist Jews, right? And this is what they want to happen to you, right? They can rely upon females who are fucking lunatics, who are released under care in the community. They shut the only all-female prison, right, and call it care in the community during an epidemic explosion of females murdering men, because men have stopped killing lunatic females who need to be either drowned or burned or hung or dragged behind horses, or better still crushed under rocks in a field, right? Now, that's what your ancestors and my ancestors used to do with that fucking shite. And Zionist Jews know that's what should happen to females for what they are. 2 out of every 3 females is evil incarnate who lies to herself that she isn't guilty of everything she's to blame for, because remember, she's no fucking remorse, right? So, to conclude, these 2 wee female serial killers and these 2 wee pricks, right? Think about those 4 little South Sea Island pygmy spastics, right? And a man who is Christ-like, who's spent his entire life working for local, national and global charities to try and save countless children's lives, which I did successfully and continue to do to this day. And the only thing that matters to these little pieces of fucking garbage is the end of their inbred fucking nose, right? And continuing with their campaigns, right, of criminality, which they get high on, right? So, at the end of that section, I go to a court, and the court is being run by a shower of shite whose fucking wages I'm paying. And these corrupt arseholes want to treat you as though you're a criminal for fuck all, right? They don't know anything about you. And you're paying these fucking hollow-headed, inbred paedophiles who need shot through the fucking face to process you as part of a fucking inhumane mechanism, manned mechanism you're paying for to help cause men PTSD obsessively. And all these pseudo-Satan worshipping primeval, primordial slime bags delude themselves that this is, channeling fucking dark energies and shit like that. They are mental quadriplegics who are unitards, who are obsessed with seeing if they can get you to choose to trigger your own amygdala, because then they believe you're in mental bondage, so you'll suppress your right to let them have it, like your ancestors did, right? And by suppressing it, it wears down the nerves in your prefrontal cortex. And all throughout her campaign, she admitted that she was trying to cause me post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And the shite behind her were involved in that as well. Now, as I've said before, during and after it, she actually did fall for me, because she's bisexual. There's no such thing as homosexual. It's paraphilia. It's somebody who's a mental quadriplegic who's so shallow and harebrained that when they start lying to themselves, fantasy being valid compared to reality, they just don't stop lying. The lack of remorse, the lack of guiding lights, the lack of insight into the unconscious means they just get worse and worse and worse, especially when they pull half her fucking brain out of her nose. Now, whoever these people in the background are, if they're still alive, right, her son was involved, and I saw that in person. And he's the most hate-consumed little boy I've ever witnessed, most suicidal little homosexual fool, which is a choice, remember, I've ever encountered. A thankless wee prick who had witnessed me being kind to his mother, genuinely caring about her, putting up with all her fucking crap, to the point where she broke down and admitted everything to me. And I'll say it quite simply. I'm prepared to take a live fMRI brain scan to substantiate the veracity of every word I'm saying, and also the solemn oath I gave when I manipulated the courts, engineered the courts, to make sure I got my day in court before I flew off to live in paradise, where I live on a beautiful farm in Portugal, because I would not contribute 1 penny to that corrupt system, nor give them 1 penny from the public purse, which fucking infuriated them, right? So, I don't know how much more I can squeeze into this video. Time is racing away, and I've got a lot to get through. So, I may put another caveat onto this one. However, suffice to say, a month before I was detained, I'd actually phoned Wishaw police station on record, and they told me, when I said to them, look, no one else is going to be able to survive this fucking piece of shit, you know. She's a serial killer, and she's, you know, tried to commit loads of crimes. It's fuck all to me, but I assure you, the majority of people will be broken down by it, and these spastics are relentless. They want to keep on going. And the female shouted down the phone, well, wait till she kills somebody else, sir, then we'll arrest her. Well, wait till she kills someone else, then we'll arrest her. On record, Wishaw police station, typical female. So a month after that, I'm detained. But this doesn't matter a fuck to these wee pricks in the night. So the only thing that matters is I've been arrested now, and I'm seeing the system from the inside out, and all these guys fill all these cells, men's arms sticking out through it, all guilty of the terrible made up rule of having typed a text to a girlfriend who's a fucking lunatic needing shot in her face, and by having typed a text, she's gone terrificationaled, and he gets dragged into a dungeon system where he has to pay £300 or he's not allowed to see his children again. And if he sees his own children again without having paid the £300, he's then put into a maximum security prison. See any demoralisation with Zionist Jews behind it there, complicit with paedophiles wearing wigs in plain view, needing shot through their face. You've got an army. So, the police farce admitted to me they're 100% complicit with a national and local paedophile ring. That's the role they want, pitted against you paying their wages. So they're not prepared to give up a good thing. They get off on screaming their head off at the public. So after I was released, which wasn't very long, and I quite enjoyed my the stone mattress. I often sleep on stone. It's a big stone villa floor, and I often sleep on it because it's good for the old back. I like it. You get a good night's rest. So it aids recovery if you get anything wrong with your back. So I have nothing wrong with my back because of it. So in a nutshell, I then contacted Motherwell Police Farce and got a lunatic who's a megalomaniacal psychopath, a female, who I think is a Satan worshipper, and she was a hate-consumed, man-hating unitard, and she was like in awe of me because I've seen this again and again and again with unitards. They think, he's so intelligent, how can our solitary pathology overcome this one? The solitary pathology which never fails to amaze them because it always works, but it doesn't. And they just dismiss the time it doesn't work. Just dismiss that. That never happened. Sometimes the magic doesn't work. I was given another chance. I would do him, So she was in awe, and her name was Jeanette Cameron, I think. And a wee pygmy, ugly as fuck. She looked like Karen Dunbar if she'd been in a head-on collision with a fucking furniture lorry, right? And so she's like, two trumpets for a nose, right? And so the imbecile just sent out the same two pricks who had detained me in the first place. You couldn't make it up, right? And then I petitioned her. I just complained and said, fuck you doing that for? You know, that's corruption, sending out the exact same 2 pricks who detained me to investigate 2 fucking female serial killers. And so she showed up in person. I put it more eloquently than that. I shouldn't have. And wait for it. When I said to her, my only interest in this whole matter is saving the next person these fucking lunatics prey on next, right? That's my only interest. She said to me, because that's what you're reporting, I can show up. In other words, if it was about a man who's been targeted by a mezzanine of fucking paraphiliacs who all think they're homosexuals, right? Who are all megalomaniacal retards, a whole family of serial killers who commit every crime conceivable because they see themselves as being evil and genuinely consider themselves to be Satan worshippers and believe every single human drawing breath deserves it, but only the kind. Funny that. And only the kind and the caring and the generous. Not actually the people from their past, right? Which really resonated with her when I hammered her with that one in person. So, the point being, she gave up the ghost on her campaign in person, but I think she wanted to reseduce me. But by the same token, shite like that just want to delude themselves. All poofs are the same. They want to delude themselves. They're controlling your perception of reality. That's every single fucking poof I've met, and every stupid female, that's 9 out of every 10 in both columns, want to believe they're controlling your perception of reality, right? They are lunatics and lunatics with shit for their brains, mental quadriplegics who don't develop beyond 3 and need shot through the face, 2 out of every 3. So, an additional quarter, the unconscious rule. If you don't do to them what they're doing to you without justification or alibi of any kind, because they're sex offenders, right? That's why they do it, right? And for butthurt, pretend revenge, if you don't do to them what they're doing to you without any justification or alibi of any kind, right? They will kill you, right? So they make your decision for you. You have to kill them like your ancestors fucking taught you. The fucking fight or flight mechanism they're preying on is your gift from all those ancestors who are telling you, fucking kill them! I'm just letting you know what your ancestors are trying to tell you. However, you suppress your right to do so and it causes you post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? So, that's what these pieces of shit pride themselves on. It seems like an imaginary, super fucking powerful weapon to these wee 3-year-old magical thinking, primeval spastics. So, the point being, so there's Jeanette Cameron, who's corrupt and rotten to the fucking core. She asked me for the information, I give her it. And she basically was getting off on it because she knows she hasn't developed beyond 3. She should never be allowed anywhere near an evolved human being, let alone somebody who's Christ-like and you know, profound in their genius. So, after 3 weeks goes by, I write to her and use a euphemism I'd heard other people say, you know, giving you a heads up because I'm going to report the 2 pricks who arrested me that night for their behaviour, you know, because they're sex offenders. And she then had her excuse after 3 weeks of knowing there's 2 female serial killers working with a mezzanine of monks, targeting people, during which time she did fuck all about female serial killers on the loose, sending me evidence saying they're going to keep on committing these crimes, hoping I would choose to have a negative reaction. Something I promised earlier, I'll tell you in a second, right? So after 3 weeks, she then said, okay, I'm just passing this to the domestic abuse team. A homicidal attempt inquiry for serial killers passed to a domestic abuse team. And she wrote at the end of it, on record, good luck. Right? So, what I'm going to tell you is this, right? 5 years before her campaign started, I was very kind to her, and I've put it in other videos in the past. There was a certain paragraph she added to the end of an email she sent me, where a guy who's an equal degenerate alcoholic fucking mess, who I once read somebody ripping the fucking piss out of him on Yahoo of all places, a guy called Boojum, who used a website called UK420, as did she, to find victims to prey on, humans rather. And the website serves them up like fucking platters of meat, and then they try and befriend them and delude themselves their masterminds, because humans still tend to afford unbrain scanned unitards infinitely more respect than they deserve. Obviously, fMRI scans dispense with all your fucking problems in the little time you've got left. Although I'd advise fucking off to Africa. So the point I'm conveying is, right, this paragraph by this degenerate fucking beast, Budjum, who's once again a blame projecting asshole with shit for his brains, who gets carried away because he's a beast. It said he doesn't store any depth of emotion with memory, right? So this stayed with me, right? Because they recall, thoughts about you like a computer recalls a photograph, right? So whenever she was sending shite, or one of her homosexuals was sending shite, to me, it was just a slide, because the insight from that paragraph made me realise, all right, to these cunts who've got total recall, photographic memory, it's just a blank, it's emotionally blank. It's just, will this work? Will this work? Will this work? Will this work? Will this get the reaction the unitard's obsessed with trying to get? Which doesn't necessarily mean that it would be like a fight or flight mechanism reaction. They also want sympathy, empathy, compassion, their pity play, because that can wear you out as well, that can wear you down. Right? So, however, to me, I was just viewing slides, and every single time they got to the end of their little pity play, or whatever it might be, or trying to be offensive, I would then just expose them publicly every fucking time, and they never got it. And it all was traceable back to that one paragraph where, alright, if they only store like photographic memories, then I can't be fooled, by them pretending that they're remembering this sort of sentimentality. They're just recalling it like a computer would. No matter how long ago you stored that photograph, it just recalls it. So I was just seeing them as slides, and seeing their tiny, tiny little mind and its solitary pathology on that smear of shit. And I publicised that for years and years and years. Yet, until a few months ago, which was the last time I actually viewed my own mail, because it was so fucking samey. They were sending shit to this stage. So almost 4 years later, I'm absolutist, so I can't say that they're still doing it, So I don't know if they're still sending me shit, right? But because there's a Zendesk involved now, because we're getting tons of mail and tons of stalkers, man. They told Cheryl I've got 6 completely different stalkers now. Cheryl is my publicist, and she's a neuroscientist. I probably should have mentioned that soon. And she was so cunning in getting into my affections. And the point is that she's involved with a hacker community in called Anonymous Hackers or whatever, and they work with a Zendesk as well. So they were able to trace all these different people to their pits or crypts, and they're all completely different people. 6 different fucking homosexual stalkers. That's the shite they want you to associate with a fucking rainbow. You have to grasp the basic concept. 2 of every 3 homosexual males and 2 out of every 3 females are megalomaniacal psychopaths used by megalomaniacal psychopaths so they can fucking blend in. And I've said this before actually, right? How bad have Western females got when a fucking female serial killer can fucking blend in? Even when she admits to being mentally ill. The point is this, right? So these photographs, right? That's all it was to me, slides. However, they're unitards, and they're relentless, and they're aggrieved, right? Cheryl told me they're terribly, terribly aggrieved. I've hurt them a great deal. I haven't even tried to hurt them. I just tell the fucking truth. I just reflect it. If you send me evidence, I'll fucking use it against you. But it's just me reflecting. It's got nothing to do with me. They pretend honest, moral men are reality's proxy. These fucking pieces of shit who your ancestors routinely executed them because they won't stop fucking pretending they're not to blame and attacking innocent people because the megalomaniac, butthurt imbecile believes when it feels bad, you must be made to feel bad. It is your fault, right? They know they're talking shite, but then they start to fucking believe it, right? Which I witnessed with my own mother, who I'll cover in another video. I'm looking forward to it. Erol On PTSD, it'll be great, right? And I've 20 years in the making, right? I've still more to do on this one. However, it's just time's escaped me because I was doing other videos earlier today and tons of work and just fun, right? So here's the thing, right? So like I say, all this time, now the homosexual in the background, the person who chooses to be homosexual, whether it's her son or a twin who's in a fucking horrid state, right? I think he's got flesh-eating necrotizing fasciitis and he's lost a leg and bits of his body, whom she may have had a sexual relationship with, or it's an ex-partner who's a voyeur, peeping Tom, whoever the ghoul that she referred to as being, as she said she feeds girls to it. So, because when she has sexual relationships with girls, after the relationship finishes, the ghoul then types to the girls and pretends they are their whored out sister or ex-wife or whatever the fucking relationship is, and her son gets involved in this. And they sent me something years ago saying, we both love you or are attracted to you. Love you. We both love you. We both love you. Right? And the shit's garbage. However, think about what I'm saying to you. A family of serial killers, Marie McCallum, Jacqueline Bradley, Lisa McCallum and Ryan McCallum are the names they had at the time. That's two of the names on police record, right? And they lived in David Gray Drive, I think it was called David Gray Drive in Kirkintilloch, right? And I think her sister lived just round the corner from her due to one of the tales the homosexual mezzanine, paraphiliac mezzanine, sent me. And what you're not supposed to know is that it's been sent by these ghouls, so that, you know, like 2 years later, she's away murdering other people, and this entire time you've been typing to some fucking fucked up motherfucker. However, as I said earlier, I don't dismiss anything, you know. I'm an absolutist thinker, so I just develop things, and either that's not true, even if it's not true, I'll still not entirely dismiss it, and if it is true, then, you know, that will be added to whatever subject I'm thinking about. I just store it, you know, and just recall it. And so, of course, I have an emotional depth attached to these things. However, I don't have to choose to have a negative reaction. But what I'm pointing out to you is, there is a family of subhuman shite committing dozens of crimes against people, after which this wee cunt who uses these fucking goons and ghouls and reptiles to then come into the person's life, knowing she's then feeding them to these ghouls as she would see it. Right? Then these pieces of crap send you hate mail for fucking years. Right? Right? That's punishable by death. Your ancestors wouldn't have let it get to that stage. Your police farce are made up of sex offenders, right? 9 out of every 10 of your police farce are cerebral and somatic sex offenders. And the two people I've already exposed in writing, one was called Stevie Nolan and the other one's called Lorraine Sharkey. They both admitted to being megalomaniacal psychopaths who tick every single box on Robert Hare's checklist for being a wahoo psychopath. Every fucking box. And I read them out to them, and they agreed they ticked every single box, including getting sadomasochistic sexual pleasure from being evil and cruel towards the public paying their wages. That's Stevie Nolan of Motherwell Piggery and Lorraine Sharkey, whom I'll expose again in the next video if I've got enough time, if not in this one. So, their job was to come into my life, right? After these spastics know that this family of scum, their obsession with trying to cause people PTSD didn't work on me because I trained with the best. Told her that about 30 times in person. So, However, her homosexual mezzanine can't take this because they believe they're masterminds, right? So, the mezzanine are fucking serial killers too. Because when she abandons them, they're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And this fucking subhuman shite continued to wear them down. Whereas to me it was just a fucking slide. Because I know that's how she recalls memories. Fuck her. Yeah. I never responded to anything. I never instigated any form of sexual relations or any form of intercourse of any kind with that mong. That's truth, right? They cannot provide one scrap or scintilla of evidence to say I ever instigated any form of any kind of contact at all, ever with them. However, I can provide, according to Cheryl, 4,000 articles of evidence, and your police fast already have over 6 hours of evidence and several witness statements against them, and still they wanted to persecute me under Agenda 21 because I'm male, solvent, ran my own business in that country, run my own business now all across the world. Fuck them, they're easy, right? And because they thought I was an Irish Catholic, and they didn't know I could have played the Muslim card and it would have been like Skittles, because in Scotland a Muslim has more legal clout than if you're an Irish Catholic, even more than a Scot actually, which is Zionist Jew shit stirring. They don't give a fuck about the Muslim, they just want to shit stir. So anything to get the white man and the white family man into the dungeon system. So the point being, these two cops who admitted to ticking everything on the checklist of what is it Robert Hare calls them? An intraspecies. Now he's a world respected leading light, right, beneath mine, right, and I'm the leading light on the entire subject. I've christened them unitards. So I know every single thing about that type of mind. I've studied it all over the world and for 4 fucking decades, right? He calls them an intraspecies, right? They're mental quadriplegics whose perception of reality isn't reality any more than a mouse has the same perception of reality as an elephant, right? It's not reality, yeah? They lack the mental equipment to exist in reality. They've no moral componentry, and you let that shite, people 9 out of every fucking 10 purchase on behalf of genocidal Jews, because these nihilistic spastics just want to stand in front of you and go, as it happens, tiny child down, sport. Yeah. You want to have them stand in front of you and go on like that because you never fucking brain scan people who make your decisions for you, who make your entertainment for you. Yeah. She even told me the guy out of It's a Knockout is a paedophile. Right before that was released, fucking years before that was known. She knows because she fucking is one. And the mezzanine poof, if it's still alive, her brother, whoever the fuck that is, admitted to being a paedophile twice, and she admitted to being a paedophile twice. So there you are. A family of homosexual paedophile serial killers, and I'm a fucking living Christ who saved countless children's lives for fucking 20 years, local, national and global charity worker, helping the poorest people, fixing their computers for fucking peanuts, sometimes for free, working tirelessly and selflessly, and these fucking degenerate homosexual paraphiliac, megalomaniacal, pseudo-Satan worshipping, forest dancing, pygmy spastics, primeval child rapists need to be executed by your army. Yeah? If they get away with the greatest men you have in your fucking country being dragged into a dungeon system, you're next. Your children are next. Yeah?
I don't think he needs to raise his voice. That's hurt my bum monkey.
Fuck your bum monkey. They are fucking bum monkeys. She referred to herself as being a monkey with 4 arses, right? Because there must be 3 people working behind her, right? And so, I couldn't give a fuck about a mezzanine of mongs, right? However, they believe they're in a competition against you because so many people have killed themselves due to these fucking spastics, right? She does the PTSD with their fucking remote guidance, wait for it, with a penknife up her arse and a fucking gun in her handbag, believe you me, right? But she's also fancying the idea of a relationship with you, with her third bigamist husband in the background who may also be in it, because she implied he was a spineless guy she could chat up other guys in front of and things like that. However, I don't give a fuck about them. They're just slides. All the people I've ever fucking studied who match that MO are subhuman shite. I just put in my magnoscope and magnified. There's nothing more for me to know on this subject. They're unitards, and it's simple. They are obsessed with trying to get you to choose to have the reaction, to aggrandise themselves, ejaculate without touching their genitalia. Just ejaculate because they're only 3 and more animal than human and being afforded this privilege. And you're failing to execute them because you're in mental bondage. The other side of the coin, they have they've ingrained the exact opposite reaction weekly from the one they presume you expect of them, right? I repeat, they presume you expect a reaction from them, so they automatically have the opposite reaction from the one they presume you expect of them. So in other words, if I go over your toe with a trolley in the supermarket, I'll turn and say, oh, sorry about that, you know, supermarket. they're not so super, I assure you. It's all infected with Jews. Poison, right? And so imagine this though, I go over your toes with my trolley, and when you look at me I go, that's the face they pull. They are maniacs. That level of lunacy, sub-lunatic, right? Almost animal.